Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 9 Soviet Premium Medium tank, the Object 283. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, this is a medium tank at Tier 9 that you'll be able to get for free, 4 snowballs out of the Winterfest storefront. And what's it like as a medium tank? Well, at Tier 9, it's alright. It's not that great, honestly. And there is an alternative in the tech tree, which is the 430 version 2, which basically gives you the exact same gameplay, pretty much, but generally is a little bit better. What this gains is instead of having 320 alpha, it has 360 alpha, and 6 degrees of gun depression with a fully traversable turret. The 430 version 2 obviously doesn't have a fully traversable turret, but it has better DPM than you, better gun handling generally, and also better penetration. And the armour works fairly similarly between the two as well. Just generally, the playstyle of the two vehicles is very, very similar. The only thing that this thing has is just that little bit more flexibility because of the fully traversable turret and the gun depression, because there's some positions that you can take in this thing that you can't in the 430 version 2, and vice versa. But for free, it's not too bad to pick up for free for snowballs. You're going to get plenty of snowballs throughout the event as well, whether you pick them up in the T28 HTC earn-up or throughout any of the other events that they're going to run in the coming weeks. So, yeah, that's the initial impressions of the 283. I don't think it's the best medium tank in the universe, but it's still capable of doing stuff. It's just it can be a right pain at times. So, let's look at the statistics. And I'm still running food, so that's going to actually affect the statistics. So, there we go. So, we've got a 50 km/h top speed with an 18 km/h reverse speed, 680 horsepower engine, which is 17.89 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you will hit that 50 km/h top speed pretty easily. The 18 km/h reverse speed is fantastic as well. So the mobility on this tank is pretty nice. It is actually slower than the 430 version 2, though, that goes at 55 km/h, so that's something to bear in mind. You have internal fire chance of 10%, which is on the low end of internal fire chances, which you'd expect to not really get set on fire that much in this vehicle. It's a lie. This thing gets set on fire all the time. I've been set on fire so much in this vehicle, it's really frustrating. So, yeah, that's a lie. It feels way worse than 10%. You got 1600 hit points, which is okay. 46 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is pretty damn quick, with a 2 on the soft, 1 on medium, and 0.9 on firm terrain resistances. You've got 328 meters of steel concealment, which is pretty nice. You can get that down to about 270 odd, I think, with the build that I run. 354 meters of on-the-move concealment as well is not too bad when you run it down with silent driving, for example. 380 meters view range is actually not that great for a Tier 9 tank. A lot of the Tier 9 tanks are getting 390 to 400 at this point, so 380 isn't really that good. But you can still, with 380, get the view range with situational awareness and code optics and stuff like that up to a pretty damn good range, to be fair. 34 degrees a second turret rotation speed is slower than the hull rotation, so bear that in mind that your turret does turn slower than the tracks. 1.47 accuracy during rotation is really not that good, with a 2.52 accuracy during movement, which again, combined with the two, really isn't that nice. Now, with the gun perks, you can actually get that down pretty decently. It's still not the best in the universe, but actually the gun handling generally, the aim circle doesn't feel that bad on this vehicle, which is why I don't run gun stabilizer. But if the gun really does troll you and really annoys you on this vehicle, run the gun stabilizer. Because you've got the 6 degrees gun depression, like I say, which is 2 degrees better than the 430 version 2, which has 4, and means you are that little bit more flexible with that fully traversable turret, meaning you can go up into a sneaky bush location with your turret facing over the back of the tank, use the 6 degrees gun depression to good effect, and then put shots out and stay stealth, or run away easier. That's the flexibility you get having a fully traversable turret with the 6 degrees gun depression. You're going to see that a little bit in one of the replays. You've got 9.9 second reload, which is 2.1k DPM, which is not that great. You can get it up to about 2.9k DPM, which is, yeah, it's alright, but it just feels a little bit slow at times. But that's because you've got 360 alpha, and 360 alpha is actually kind of decent on this kind of tank. Although, sometimes I would much rather have the better gun handling, shell velocity, and DPM of the 430 version 2, right? But that is what it is. 0.36 accuracy at 100 meters is also, can be a bit derpy at times. You get onto the derpier end of accuracy at 0.36. Now, it's still pretty decent when you get it down with the crew skills, but sometimes the gun can derp. You got 2.3 second aim time, which is okay, and you don't really feel it that badly, actually. You do feel that you have to wait for it to aim in to hit the shots, but it's not all too horrific. 237 penetration on the standard AP rounds is pretty low for a tier 9 medium tank. These days, with the creep of the penetration on a lot of the tier 9s, they'll pack in more like 250, 260. You've seen that with buffs to guns like the M46, for example, although the E50 still got 220. But penetration's starting to get a lot higher. Obviously, your competitor at the Soviet medium tanks in the T-54 and the 430 version 2 both have 264 penetration, which is, yeah, obviously a lot better than this. Meaning your standard pen can struggle in a lot of matchups, even against tier 9s, but when you're against tier 10s especially, you're going to end up firing a lot of the 330 heat pen rounds, because the 330 heat pen is beautiful and butchers everything, which is pretty nice. 50mm of HE pen as well with for 480 alpha. It can be pretty useful sometimes against lightly armoured vehicles, but do I use it that often? Not particularly. When you're using it against artillery though, it can be pretty damn handy. And 360 alpha, like I say, is pretty beaut. It's actually really nice for the rolls that you can get, because you're not going to get some of the rolls that you get with the 320 alpha, where you're rolling for 280, 270 sometimes, 290. This thing's 360, meaning you're going to hit for like 330, 340 quite consistently to 360 to 370, 380, right? And you've got 895 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, with 900 meters a second shell velocity on the heat rounds, which means that your heat round is actually slightly quicker than your AP rounds, but they are below average on the shell velocity, as the shell velocity average is generally about 1,000 in meters a second, where it actually starts to feel good, that is, in World War II. And 895 is yucky, generally. It's pretty yucky. It means that you really have to give a good amount of lead to hit your shots with this object 283. As it is a tier 9 premium tank, you don't really get any bonuses whatsoever, just a little bit extra on the premium earn and the free XP earn. So, yeah, don't get this tank expecting it's going to make good silver or credits and stuff like that. So let's have a quick look at the module viewer, and as you can see with the engine blocks, this is the big reason why this tank gets set on fire. And that's because, look where the engine is, and they're the fuel tanks. Meaning that any shot that hits the engine deck, any shot that goes through the lower plate, or the upper plate, or any of that side profile there, basically sets you on fire. And that's really irritating. It doesn't matter that you've got the lower end of fire chances. It just loves it, generally, to get lit on fire, and it's pretty frustrating. And there is the old ammo racks on this vehicle too, which means that you can get your ammo rack blown if it hits the back end of the vehicle, so you've got to be very, very careful of that in the Object 283. And as you can see with the armor profile on this vehicle, you can see the turret is pretty damn strong. And if you are hull down, you are going to block a good amount of shots with this vehicle. You know what? Let's go over to the tank's GG, as that has the same armor model on PC as it does on console. And as you can see, this is firing the 230 penetration rounds that we have, or 237 penetration rounds anyway, or 226 as they have. Actually, we've got buffed penetration rate, but there you go. So, this lower plate, upper plate, if you shoot it dead center, you'll pen it. Lower plate can be a bit of a troll the lower down you shoot, and the upper plate is really troll to pen as well. But you can see the turret front is really, really nice. If you're using your gun depression especially, and you're looking over a ridge line, because 6 degrees is enough to do that, it'll be really difficult to penetrate the front of this tank. Though you do have a little cupola that sticks out on the front of the turret there, which can be penned too. So if we put heat on though, as you can see, a lot of tanks have that penetration. I mean, we have 330 heat, they have 300. So this is against 300 penetration, which a lot of tanks have at tier 9 and 10, with premium especially. And as you can see, you start to become butcherable with the armor, and your turret face starts to become a bit of a problem too, and even firing at there. This tank really wants to be trying to side scrape if it can, because if you're side scraping off a wall, they are going to ricochet quite a lot of shots off your side here. You just got to be careful that they don't catch you on this upper plate here. And then if you're on a ridge line, you want to be trying to get hull down a bit, make sure that they can only see your turret, as against tier 8s, tier 9s, generally, you are pretty strong with the turret front. You just got to be careful that when people start firing premium at tier 9 and 10, that they don't just start absolutely butchering your poor armor, and you sit there crying as they go through it every single time. It's the premium rounds that you've got to realise when someone starts firing premium at you. When someone starts firing premium at you, that's where you've got to be really careful and just go, nope, not doing that. Not doing that whatsoever. So what do I run in terms of recruit and equipment? Well, on the equipment, I run the advanced loader, the camo net, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself and get the really good view range that I can push it up to. The camo net to get the really good camo that I can push out with this, which really helps with the gameplay of the tank. And the advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM, since it's not the best in the universe. You could quite easily drop the camo net to run the gun stabilizer if the gun really does annoy you. You could run vents to get best out of everything. You could also run the traction system to go at 55 kilometers an hour, as you would hit 55 kilometers an hour. So you could run the traction system for that. It's down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the vehicle, because you might not want to play with camo, or you don't like playing with the camo. Therefore, that's no use to you, right? And then in terms of the crew, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Camouflage Expertise, and Silent Driving. Silent Driving to get the camo down while on the move by 55%. The Camouflage Expertise to knock the camo down by 10% as well, so I can get that pretty damn nice camo. And I use that obviously with Silent Driving to make sure that I can get into bush cover without getting spotted too easily, because otherwise the camo while moving will let you down. And then all 3 gun perks, because we're not running the gun stabilizer, so that I can get the gun as good as it humanly can be. And it doesn't actually feel that bad if you do run all these gun perks with food as well, and obviously Born Leader. And yeah, these 5 perks you're going to run on every tank in World War II. There is a case where you could decide to drop Silent Driving and run the Track Mechanic instead. And the reason is that this thing, especially if you decide to go side scraping with it, will get its tracks blown off quite a bit, and it's nice to get the tracks back on if you've already used a repair kit and stuff like that. It's down to you and how you want to play the old vehicle. So let's have a look at the statistics now. It's fully equipped out, and as you can see, we've got that decent terrain resistances which do not hold you back, like I say. 486 meters of view range, which is okay. It's good enough to spot for yourself pretty easily. It's not obviously at the level of a lot of the other tier 9 mediums, but it's still good enough. 276 meters of still concealment is pretty damn good, with 286 meters of on-the-move concealment, which is, again, really good, and that's because of the silent driving, which has knocked it down to get near to that still concealment, meaning that, again, you can be pretty stealthy in this vehicle, which really helps with the gameplay. 36.92 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed has been helped a little bit, which means it's getting close to that whole rotation speed, but it's still pretty slow. 0.97 accuracy during rotation is now below the 1 accuracy, which is pretty good, but also not that great. It's in that range where it's sort of, once you're getting below 1, great, but still 0.97 is still quite close to it and is not too good generally. Once you're getting below 0.8 on accuracy during rotation, that's where it's starting to get really good. But you've got 1.8 accuracy during movement, which is actually not too bad without the gun stabilizer, which is why these are very close to being very, very good, which is why if you run the gun stabilizer, this gun will feel phenomenal. But if you don't run the gun stabilizer, because really it helps to run other stuff, then it still feels quite okay, but just not at that snapshotty level. And then you've got 2.12 second aim time, which means it aims in pretty quickly anyway. 7.22 second reload, which is 2.9k DPM, which, like I say, is pretty okay. It's not horrific, but it's also not good, right? So that's the statistics of the 283 with it fully kitted out. Let's have a quick look at the 430 version 2, however, which is also kitted out pretty much exactly the same as we go. And as you can see with the 430 version 2, we have a 3.3k DPM nearly with that 5.83 second reload. We've got 55 kilometers an hour top speed, 20 kilometer an hour reverse speed, good horsepower per ton ratio, same view range, better camo, with, I would say, that better DPM. You got better gun handling, although the accuracy during movement rotation especially is dreadful. But you have that 2.12 second aim time as well, which means it does aim in pretty quickly. So generally the aim circle is a lot bigger on this tank when it's on the move or during rotation, and you're aiming just as quick. But the thing is, you fire faster. You have 264 penetration on the standard APCR with 1500 meters a second shell velocity, which is beautiful. And then you still got 330 heat, which means that will go through stuff. 4 degrees gun depression, though, can be a bit of a pain to use on this vehicle. And yeah, that's the 430 version 2. And generally, what this tank has over it, over the 283, makes it just generally feel a little bit nicer to use. Obviously, the 4 degrees gun depression and the not fully traversable turret can be a pain for the 430 version 2, but it feels a little bit nicer on the whole to use than the 283. But that's the 283. It's the tank that you can get 4 snowballs out of this Winterfest storefront. If you go to tanks there, it's sat right there, and you can pick it up for free out of the store. So yeah, that's the 283. What I'm going to do now is send you over to the replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and see if it's a bit of use, see if you want to pick it up for free with the snowballs, or whether you want to spend your snowballs on other stuff. I would always fully recommend picking up tanks for free if you can, because they're always useful to have, and you never know what might end up in a chest one day, and thus you can pick up some gold if you do get lucky. But yeah, let's go have a look at the replays for the Object 283 and see how it handles. So here we are in the replays with the Object 283, and this first game we are on this map, which is Cliff, and on Cliff, from the spawn that we've got here, I always want to rush into the little donut bowl area at EF2, because it's a good position to take to be able to spot people down the 1-2 line if you have enough campers, which we've got quite a few, and you can also go up to the position at E2 and be able to spot the people crossing the BC line and get shots into their side quite easily as well. Now, the light tank that was in front of us, the Vanguard, actually spotted the G-Saw and the TVP, or the Skoda T50, whichever one it was, and we actually hit a shot RBRT on the move. But sadly, we ricocheted, because of course. And as you can see, even from fully moving, even though we don't run gun stabilizer, that aim circle isn't that bad. We managed to get 2 shots into the G-Saw, chancing it, risking it for a biscuit, and thankfully he didn't get any shots into us. That Bulldog's probably reloading, so we are getting a gun out of the game by getting rid of the Lynx 6x6, and thankfully we got rid of him, but sadly he hit us as well, which is just a sad time. There's the gun handling. That shot looked like it should have hit the ST1, but sadly it missed. We give some lead on the ST1 again. And that one went, we're lucky that pen, that went extremely high, hit the side of his turret, which is stock, and thankfully it penned. Then we aim at the side with the whole side of a 2790, and the shell dropped low, meaning that we didn't pen it. Then the shot hits the upper plate of the UDES, meaning it ricochets. The UDES is coming in, so we put a shot through his mid plate there for, well, 387 is a nice roll. He pens us, which is always going to happen. RBRT, I've got his side, should have aimed it. That was a stupid mistake, as we ricocheted off his upper plate again, but thankfully the Vanguard finished him off. We really should have aimed that second shot on the UDES, because even though we had his whole side to pen, it was always likely that it could just hit his upper plate if he turned a little bit, and that was just a mistake, really. But this is where the 283 can be pretty flexible compared to something like the 430 version 2. We do have that fully traversable turret, and that 6 degrees of gun depression means that the little bumps in the ridgeline, especially on these snowy maps, which are more prevalent at the minute, because the winter maps are more higher in rotation, or they're at a high frequency, we don't actually get affected by the bumps in the snow all too much, which can be handy, because the 430 version 2 at times, you go, oh, I can get a shot at this guy, but I hit the bump, and thus my gun is in the air. And it happens way too often, way too frustratingly. So that's something that doesn't quite happen with this 283, which can be useful. We've managed to get 2 shots into the stock ST1's turret, because when it's stock, that roof hatch on the top is pretty easy to pen at some weird angles, which is why we aimed for it, and thankfully even with 237 penetration it went in. Never penning that 2790, but I decided to use the shell that I had loaded to try and hit his cupola, and we ricocheted off his turret so that we could load these 330 heat rounds, because like I say, the 330 heat rounds are very, very nice on this vehicle, and they butcher. So we've seen the 2 tanks in their base. There's still quite a few of their tanks left alive, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, I'm going to poke out this little bush here, poke through, and shoot the TVP or the TD. So we managed to get an RBRT shot into the TVP 50/51, finishing him off. Switch back to AP, because we don't really need the heat at this point, or what we're going to face at the minute. And we're up to 2.9k damage. And we can see where the last set of the enemy vehicles are. There's an IS-3 there, the medium tank, which is an AVRE, 705A, which we will need heat rounds probably to go through. So we're watching that AVRE, can't get a shot at him. Thankfully, we have the, well, we had the roof of the 705A there. We get the shot into his roof, which pens, because again, the roof armor is pretty weak, and it was fairly flat. We see the IS-3. Thankfully, we snapped the shot into his upper plate. He ricochets off us, which is very lucky. And there's only 3 tanks left, so we're loading the heat rounds to guarantee the pen on this 705A. He is looking at us, but thankfully, he wasn't quite ready. Well, he'd looked away. That was what happened there. He'd looked away, and that hesitation moment meant that we'd actually been able to get the shot into his side without taking a hit and finish him off. Because the one thing that happens a lot is that he's got a 152mm gun, he's got 600 alpha. And what happens a lot in this vehicle is those that with the higher caliber guns shoot you in the side or the front end of the vehicle and set you on fire. I'm not kidding, this thing gets set on fire and it's really frustrating quite a lot. And even though the fire chance at 10% is pretty low, it doesn't feel like it. Really doesn't. But we finished that first game with epic victory, 3 kills, 3.8k damage, 618 assistance, second class Confederate with the 1452 base XP. Fairly average game there for the Object 283 in a tier 10 game on not Arctic region, on Cliff. And we're on to the second replay. And the second replay, we are here on this map, which is Heilbronn. And on Heilbronn, what I want to do is go to the position at F6, F7, because I can shoot people as they cross down the HJ line, spot up some of their campers, try and get shots at them, and just rotate to where I need to be, because I can also rotate round to the position at F4-5 if my position isn't really working, or if someone decides to go to the counter spot at G7, because there's a little spot that can counter me on this ridgeline, which can be pretty frustrating to be able to get someone out of. And if they do go there, it's time for you to run off and do something else, because, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain. So as we come into the spot, we actually find the UDES 16. It's like, well, hello, Mr. Swedish Tier 9 medium tank. I rotate so that my turret is facing over the back of my tank so that I can get out of dodge faster if I need to. We actually get spotted by the Gorilla 15 and the 279E crossing, which was like, what? What's going on here? I think about going for the Gorilla 15, but I know where that 279E is going. I have to put a shot into him, because if we can whittle him down a little bit, that'd be nice. I switched to heat rounds because, well, yeah, 279E, we're not really going to do much to it with the 237 pen AP. 330 heat is what we need. 279E gives us his side, though, so we put a shot RBRT through his side, 343, and we damage his ammo rack. But it's quite nice that he wasn't actually paying attention to us. But sadly, now he is. He was still angled a little bit poorly there, which meant we put a heat round straight through the flat section of his side armor. 400 roll, by the way. Pretty damn nice. But he also snapped a shot with heat round straight through the back of our tank, which is really awkward. He's baiting us, really, to try and shoot him, which, to be honest, if he comes over flat on, we're not really going to pen it anyway. So this guy has a dominant position. I don't even know why I'm still contemplating it or entertaining the idea of sticking around trying to fight the 279E. With RT looking at me, I'm like, nah, this position's done. I'm done with that. I can't get the 279E where he is. There is no point sitting in a stalemate. May as well move over here and see what we can find and what we can do, because we never know. We might find some people crossing. We might find somebody else that's camping over here. We might get some shots into somebody as they're crossing into the town. It's endless possibilities, you know? And we actually find an E3, and it's like, hello, Mr. E3. Put a shot through the side, which is fairly lucky, to be perfectly honest, because that was a pretty poor shot, but hey-ho. And the E3 is starting to turn towards us, but thankfully he gives us enough of his side, put it 388, put him down to a one-shot, but sadly we got spotted for that. And that's because the TD had moved forward. We're never going to pen the E3 there like that. I think that was more of a fire and pray. But the GUI ends up shutting him down. Artillery's looking at us, though, so I don't want to sit still for too long, because artillery will start farming us. And we also noticed that there's a tank at A2, which is a heavy tank, and I'm thinking, this is possibly not good. So I'm going to start moving towards them to see if I can get shots. T58 Heavy gets spotted crossing over, so we get a shot into the T58 Heavy's turret. He gets tracked with damage in his ammo rack. Medium tank spots us as he's moving around on our right-hand side. Put another shot through the side of the T58. And yeah, the Object 283, my opposition 283, hasn't actually realised I'm here. So we go for the shot RBRT into the side of that guy. Then we realise the 704's above us, and I'm thinking, oh god, that's a big gun looking at me. I don't want that. I'm in a very perilous position right now. So I decide, risk it for a biscuit. Gonna go for the RBRT on the 283, which misses. I want to get myself to a safe spot here at D6, D7. Because that way I'll stay safe from the 704 and I can stay safe from the 279E and not have the 704 just YOLO over and put a big shot into us while getting shot in the side by this guy. So we put a shot into the side of the 283, putting him down to a one-shot. Thankfully, he ricochets off my butt. I'm like, yes! Good night, sir! Oh. I bounced. That's pretty awkward. He fires HE at me and the 114 SP2 finishes him off. And then artillery hits us and sets us on fire. The artillery actually hit us for 102 damage. But then set us on fire, which meant that we lost most of our hit points. Ouchie wouchies. lemon squouchies. Yeah, I don't know what that was. But we lost all of our hit points. We're now on 277 hit points. Which is not good. It's no good. It's no good. We're up to 3.2k damage with 1100 assistance, which is okay. It's okay. But we're stuck now. We are genuinely stuck because we don't have the hit points to play with anymore. And we've got to find our spot to be able to get shots at them. But we're having really awkward situations because we know where the heavy tanks are, the tier 10 heavy tanks. They're somewhere just over that river. And there's nothing really, except for the two TDs at B8, B5, to shoot at them. And if I was to go back to the position about F5, it's going to be no good. Because they're just going to poke out behind me and shoot me and kill me. So I can go and try and support this heavy tank. Load the heat rounds, see if I can pen the 279E. But then I see the T58 Heavy. T58 Heavy is coming out of the little towny area where the bridges are. So let's swivel round so it's easier for me to get out of dodge if I need to. See if we can spot the T58 Heavy and put a round into him if we can, because we can put him down to within a 2-shot. He gets spotted, we put a shot through his side, damages an Armour, 561 hit points, which means he's probably not going to think about doing that again because it's not going to be a good idea. And I want to see if I can go and find the tank that's pressuring our heavy, because I think maybe they might give me a free shot. That could be quite handy, so we're going to go see if we can support him. The 279E thinks about it, well, thinks twice about poking over that ridge, so we can't actually get a shot at that guy. The K91 looks like he might drive round the side into the open, so we're just going to wait to see if this K91 will give us a free shot. We've got to be careful, because if he RBRTs us, he will pen us and just hit us instinctively, because that's just a sad time. He gets spotted there. We put the shot through his upper plate. Thankfully, he doesn't try and snap us, and we get away with that, getting a free shot in. The FV215B is progressing now across the bridge at B4. So we want to see if we can get into a position to get a shot through his tank as he's progressing up. So we're just aiming up to see if we can get the shot through his lower plate, waiting for it. Sadly, we hit the side armor, which gets the heat round absorbed by the tracks. I'm not sure we'd have even penned that with AP anyway, but that meant that that guy got to survive. It would have been nice to get that shot in to finish him off. T58 Heavy moving up, get the shot through the turret, putting him down to a one-shot, and I think at this point, you know what? I'm going to chance it. He's on the move. His accuracy will be worse. Oh. His accuracy will be worse, will it? And he snaps us on the move and finishes us off. We finished the game with the 4.2k damage, 1100 assistance, the second class, the Confederate, 804 base XP. A pretty okay game on a loss there in a very, very tier 10 lobby. And that's just how fast it can turn for the 283. Because, like I say, the armor on it is so-so. It works occasionally, and occasionally it doesn't. It gets set on fire a good amount, and when you get set on fire, you lose most of your hit points, which can be pure pain. And it can be really awkward at times to try and win a game, because you just can't quite get the positioning to be able to help your team, essentially, in the right way. So we're on to the third replay. In this third replay, we're on the new map, which is Safe Haven. And on Safe Haven, what I'm going to go do is go play the JK line, because the JK line is a very good line for the TDs, medium tanks, and some of the light tanks, although there's good spots along the middle of the map as well for medium tanks. And the more heavily armoured vehicles, whether that be medium tanks or heavy tanks, their good positions to take and brawl is around the DE56 and around the BC line. There is lots of good brawly opportunities for heavy tanks in those locations, and you can support those tanks quite easily by those little sight lines and little openings that medium tanks can take advantage of to support their heavies. And you're going to see a bit of that in this replay. So what I'm doing in the 283 is I'm going to go to the bushes here and try and spot through the bushes, see if we can spot any of their team as they poke out at the back of the map, or through those bushes that are directly in front of me over there, because snipers like to go sit in these bushes, the light tanks like to go sit in it. As soon as they fire, like the Lynx 6x6 does, they will get spotted. Standard B gets spotted. Oh boy, that poor Standard B. He was like, hello everybody, I'm a tank, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead. Yep, I'm so dead. Dead. And he was dead. And yeah, that was the way it went. And this is the sight line I'm talking about. This heavy tank brawling zone is a good zone to brawl in heavy tanks. But if medium tanks have got to this position here at J6, it's very good for shooting those guys. So the IS-32, I'm not quite sure what he's doing. He's coming in. We get a shot through his upper plate. I'm going to switch to heat to make sure. Get very lucky that his double barrel bounces. Now that That's lucky. Yep. But I've got to make sure now, because he will have a poor reload while he's waiting on his double barrel, that I can punish this guy and get rid of him before he reloads it. Because naturally it's going to be a big 900 hit if he decides to double barrel us again, which is never going to be a good time. So we put the shot through his upper plate with the heat round again, putting him down to a one-shot, and our Ragnarok from the middle ends up shutting him down. And as you can see, we've now got shots into the rear of this Cobra, and it's like, hello, Mr. Cobra. Why do you not stay there for me? I will farm you. Very much. I like this. Thank you. Fire a shot at him blind, but we hit the upper plate, which is extremely awkward to pen on the Cobra, and we don't pen it. Conqueror pokes out. Can't quite get a shot at him. Shot through the side of the Cobra, though, because, again, he's panicking. We managed to get that shot in. The Chrysler K drives round, and, thankfully for him, unluckily for me, means I'm reloading and just don't quite get the shot. We're just out of render for the Cobra, so I'm trying to get him back in it. And there we go. We got the Cobra back into our render range, and we shut down that tier 9 British medium tank, getting our second kill of this game with 3.2k damage. I see the T-77, I'm thinking, are these guys going to be able to kill that T-77? I might go and help them get rid of him so that there's not a T-77 behind me. But in fact, the Vanguard, I think Armour the poor guy. So we end up with no tanks behind us and knowing where their tanks are. So we try and snap a shot on the move into the Chrysler K as he crossed the open. But it just didn't hit. And we're just going to go pressure the last few enemy tanks remaining on their team. Because again, we know where 3 of them are. There's artillery left. We know where the other 3. So you can see, even from fully moving, that aim circle ain't too bad. And 2.12 second aim time means it generally does aim in pretty quickly. Naturally, if you run the gun stabilizer, that aim circle will be a hell of a lot smaller, meaning that you don't really have to aim all that much in the 283 for it to be fully aimed in. So, yeah, the gun stabilizer, there's definitely a case for the gun stabilizer on this vehicle, but as you've seen so far, having the better camo is a pretty nice asset for the vehicle, as you can see us farming down the 6th line without ever getting spotted. And finished with the epic victory, 3 kills, 4.1k damage, the second class the sniper medal with that 1276 base XP. And I also really like that replay just for the showing you the new map, Safe Haven, so that you can see some decent positions to take in a medium tank on that map, because again, there's lots of different, I like that map because there's lots of different ways to play it, and there's lots of different sight lines to help different flanks. And it's just not a bad map actually to play. But we're on the 4th and final replay of this video. Well done to you if you are still here. And we are on Mali. And on Malinovka, we are going to go to the position at D7. Going to go to the position at D7, and this is where having that camo is really darn handy. We're in a decent matchup, tier 9 matchup, which is always nice to have for a tier 9. And that bush that's directly in front of us will be pretty helpful. We snap the shot RBRT on the move into the AMBT, which is what I'm saying. This gun handling isn't that horrific, to be fair. Sometimes it derps some really easy shots, but most of the time it's not too bad. We get a shot into the side of the AAT-60, another shot straight through the back end of the tank as he's running away, hoping to maybe get another shot in, thankfully avoid artillery, but the AAT-60's camo is very, very good, and my view range means that I can't even spot him, so that man gets away. So once again, I'm going to rotate so the turret is facing over the back of the tank, and then I'm going to push with the bush on my right-hand side so that anybody that's in the bush on our right there that you can see on that little ledge, which is a F7, couldn't see us as we poked into the bush. And this is where the camo is pretty darn handy, because we can stay unspotted. But this Charlemagne's below the ridge, and I think, you know what? I'm just going to take the risk, put a shot into the side of the Charlemagne, get the damage, lower his HP a bit, because no one was shooting it, no one was able to see him, and I wanted to just knock his HP down a wee bit if I could. But now we're unspotted again. We're just going to pull back into the bush, see if we can get the spotting up again, and see if we can get some nice, juicy assistance. So we're sitting in the bush. I'm looking around going, hello, enemy team, where are thou? We see the artillery sheltration, I think it was back there, but that's out of bounds, or out of my gun range, so I can't hit it. See the side of the Gornich's turret, 237 pen, can't go through the side of the Gornich's turret. Sad times. Had heat, would have gone through it, but there we go. And while we're spotted again, I don't want to be too aggressive, so I'm going to poke out around the side. I'm going to poke out around the side of this instead of going back into my bush so that we can get shots at this Ho-Ri or the Ag Tiger and stuff like that. Get a nice shot through the drive wheel of the Ho-Ri. He gets shot while he's tracked, and I actually can perma-track. That's why you want to run track mechanic on certain tanks like turretless tank destroyers, because even though I've got a 7-second reload, or 6.6-second reload with food boost, we could perma-track him. If he ran track mechanic, I'm not perma-tracking him there. So, yeah, that's an advert for track mechanic right there, as we managed to finish him off with the fire as well. So I'm going to use my camo again to poke through into the bush. We end up finding a Diamondback and the Charlemagne. Look for the side of the Charlemagne's turret, get it fully aimed in, put it in so that he's now down to a one-shot. Our guys are basically winning the hill, and I think, okay, we're winning the hill. It's time. We're going to go to the position at C9. Why C9? Because I can counter the guys at F7. I can spot them. And I can also stay safe as I hug the side of the hill to get to the rock at E0, which will once again help me farm the people like the Diamondback that's in that position at F7. And then from that rock, we can progress down the 0 line, spot the campers, and get some nice shots as well. I mean, we're up to 2.6k damage with 1800 assistance. We're having a pretty decent game as it goes so far. There's still 8 tanks left on the enemy team. So we're just going to push up to the rock, see if we can get any shots into them. We've loaded heat for the Diamondback, ready to go. Hello, Mr. Diamondback. Firing through concealment, making sure that we can shoot through the bush into this Diamondback, and that's one of the reasons, by the way, why I get the question quite a bit about the enhanced targeting equipment, and why do you use it? You don't need to use it to know where to pen things. It's not about the penetration, it's about those outlines, because if we'd shot at that Diamondback there without the enhanced targeting equipment, we would have had absolutely no idea where we were firing, and that's why, so that you could use my concealment, stay unspotted while farming him, and that's what we did. So we got a shot into the artillery who's been spotted. We're using this little hump on our right to stay away from the ISU-152. Don't really need to do that anymore because he's dead to the Panzerjäger. The M53-55. Well, we'll take that kill on the 53-55. Now we've got the SU-14-2. Put him down to a one-shot. I'm thinking, oh, this guy might get unspotted before I reload. And sadly he does, but we managed to get the blind fire in to shut him down, securing our 3rd kill of the game, our 2nd kill on artillery, 5k damage nearly. Hello, Mr. T-55-8, lead the shot, put it straight in, putting us up to 4 kills. The Ag Tiger gets shut down by the SU-130 PM, and it's like, okay, we know where the AAT-60 was. He was down at K7, so we're just going to YOLO forward, keep a wide angle so that we can try and get a shot at him if he gets spotted. Not seeing the AAT-60 at this current moment in time, though. It's like, where art thou? And there you are. He's hiding behind the ridgeline, and sadly we couldn't get a shot into that AAT-60. But we did finish the game with a really nice total there for the Object 283. Finished with the epic victory, 4 kills, 5.2k damage, 2.6k assistance. That's 7.8k combined. The Dimitrius, the high caliber, the 1st class, for that 1762 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the Object 283 on Malinovka. But yeah, that's the 283. That's the tank you can get out of the Winterfest storefront for 25,000 snowballs. I'd say it's a pretty okay tank. It's nothing to shout home about. It does its job okay. Is there better out there? Hell yeah. But for free? Yeah, take it. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.